People ask me all the time, Denzel, how do you stay calm? How do you keep your peace in a world where everyone's got something to say about you? And I'll tell you this, I wasn't always that way. I've been lied on, criticized, attacked, and tested more times than I can count. I've walked into rooms where people smiled at me, but whispered behind my back. I've faced rejection, betrayal, and disappointment. And I had a choice every single time. Do I let their words define me, or do I protect my peace and keep moving forward? I learned something powerful. If you give people the power to make you angry, you've also given them the power to control you. And I don't know about you, but I refuse to hand my joy, my purpose, and my destiny over to anyone else's opinion. This isn't about ignoring reality. It's about choosing your reality. It's about deciding that no matter what they say, no matter what they do, they will not disturb the calm inside of you. That's freedom. That's strength. And today, I want to share with you how to never feel angry or bothered by anyone again. Because if I can do it, you can do it too. When I talk about protecting your peace at all costs, I'm not speaking from theory, I'm speaking from experience. There was a time when I thought I had to answer every insult, defend myself against every rumor, and prove myself to people who didn't even care about the truth. I used to carry that weight around like it was my responsibility, like I owed them my anger or my reaction. But the truth is, every time you let somebody drag you into their storm, you forget that you carry your own calm. And I had to learn hard way that not every voice deserves your attention, not every action deserves your energy, and not every situation deserves a reaction. You see, when you grow up the way I did, when you come from where I come from, you learn early that people will test you. They'll push you. They'll provoke you. They'll try to get under your skin. And for a long time, I thought being strong meant fighting back. I thought strength was proving myself in the moment. But life taught me something different. Strength isn't about how loud you can shout back. Strength isn't about how hard you can hit. Strength is about how unshakable you can remain when everything around you is trying to pull you apart. I remember times in this industry when I was overlooked, when was underestimated, when people whispered that I didn't belong, that I wasn't good enough, that I would never make it. And if I had fed into every one of those voices, I wouldn't be here talking to you today. If I had allowed their doubts to become my doubts, their anger to become my anger, I would have lost the very thing that kept me moving forward. My peace, my clarity, my sense of self. Protecting your peace doesn't mean you don't feel hurt. It doesn't mean you don't get frustrated. It means you've decided not to live in that space. It means you choose to breathe before you answer, to pause before you act, to remind yourself that their behavior is not your burden. It's like walking down the street and somebody tries to hand you a heavy bag. You don't have to take it. You don't have to carry what doesn't belong to you. And too many of us are walking around with bags full of anger, full of bitterness, full of things that were never ours to begin with. The older I get, the more I understand that peace is not something you stumble upon. It's something you fight for. You've got to wake up every day and decide that nobody, no situation, no circumstance is going to steal it from you. You can't buy peace. You can't beg for it. You have to claim it. And once you claim it, you have to guard it. Your life depends on it. Because in a way, it does. I've been around people who have everything you can imagine. Fame, money, recognition, and still they're restless, angry, bitter, constantly bothered by what someone said about them, what someone tweeted, what someone whispered. And then I've met people with almost nothing, but they smile like they've got the world. What's the difference? Peace. That's the real wealth. That's the real power. When you know who you are, when you know what you stand for, when you're grounded in something bigger than people's opinions, you stop chasing after validation and you start walking in freedom. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying you won't be tempted to clap back, to defend yourself, to prove a point. But ask yourself this: if you win the argument and lose your peace, was it really a victory? If you spend all your time trying to silence the noise outside, when will you ever hear the calm inside? I had to learn to value quiet over chaos, to value restraint over reaction. Because at the end of the day, peace is not about the world around you, it's about the world within you. So when somebody talks bad about me, I let them talk. When someone misunderstands me, I let them misunderstand. When someone doesn't believe in me, I let them watch. Because I know where I'm going, and I know who I am. And no amount of noise can shake that foundation. That's what it means to protect your peace. It means you stop giving people free rent in your mind. It means you stop handing out keys to your joy. It means you walk through this life light, unbothered, and focused on what really matters. And when you get to that place, you'll realize that peace is not just the absence of anger, it's the presence of strength. You know, one of the biggest lessons I've ever learned in my life is this simple truth: hurt people hurt people. I had to come to terms with the fact that when someone attacks you, when someone lies about you, when someone tries to tear you down, it usually has nothing to do with you. It's a reflection of what they're going through on the inside. And I'll be honest with you, it took me years to understand that. Because in the beginning, when people came at me, when they criticized me, when they laughed behind my back, I took it personally. I thought maybe I wasn't good enough. Maybe I did something wrong. Maybe there was something lacking in me. But the truth is, they were fighting battles I couldn't see, carrying wounds I couldn't heal, and spilling pain they didn't know how to deal with. I remember being a young actor, hungry, passionate, trying to make a name for myself. You think when you start out, everybody is going to clap for you. You think people will support you just because you're trying, because you've got good intentions, because you're putting in the work. But what I found was some people can't celebrate you because your light exposes the darkness they've been hiding. Your growth reminds them of where they've settled. Your ambition reminds them of what they gave up on. So instead of cheering for you, they start trying to pull you down. They gossip. They criticize. They look for cracks in your armor. And if you're not careful, you'll spend your life trying to convince people who are determined not to see your worth. I learned that people act out of their pain. A man who is broken will try to break others. A woman who is insecure will project that insecurity on everyone she meets. Somebody who's carrying bitterness will spit bitterness into every conversation they have. And once I saw that, I stopped being offended because I realized it's not about me, it's about them. If a man is drowning, he'll grab onto anything, even if he pulls it under with him. And sometimes that's what people do with their words, with their actions, with their anger. They're drowning inside, and they'll try to drag you down just to feel like they're not alone in their struggle. But here's the thing, I had to decide I wasn't going to be pulled into that cycle. If they're hurting, I can't let their hurt make me angry. If they're bitter, I can't let their bitterness take root in me. If they're broken, I can't let their brokenness break me. Because if I do, I'm no different than them. What I had to learn was to see people through the lens of compassion. Not pity, not weakness. Compassion. I started asking myself, what must they be going through to act like that? What pain must they be carrying to need to put me down? And the moment I started thinking like that, my anger disappeared. You can't be angry and compassionate at the same time. Compassion softens you. It frees you. I remember someone once told me, never wrestle with a pig. You both get dirty, and the pig likes it. That stuck with me. Because when someone tries to provoke you, when they throw negativity at you, what they're really saying is, come down to my level, live where I'm living, sit in the misery I'm sitting in, and you have to decide, are you going to lower yourself, or are you going to rise above? For me, I chose to rise. I chose to see their pain but not carry it. I chose to acknowledge their hurt but not absorb it. I chose to keep my peace intact, no matter what storm they brought my way. The older I got, the more I understood that anger is expensive. It costs you your time, your energy, your focus, and your peace. And it's too high of a price to pay for somebody else's struggle. I'd rather invest my energy in love, in forgiveness, in building something meaningful. Because the truth is, when you meet people with kindness instead of anger, you break the cycle. When you respond with patience instead of frustration, you remind them there's a better way. And sometimes that's the very thing that helps them heal. So when I say hurt people, I don't just mean you should understand it. I mean you should rise above it. Don't let their pain become your prison. Don't let their wounds dictate your response. Stand tall, protect your peace, and remember, their behavior doesn't define you, it reveals them. Once you understand that you'll never let anger control you again. I've lived long enough, and I've seen enough to know that holding on to anger doesn't punish the other person, it punishes you. I've been there. I've had moments in my life where people lied on me, disrespected me, tried to put me in a box, tried to tell me what I couldn't do, what I wouldn't be. And for a while, I carried that with me. I carried the bitterness, the questions, the grudges. But I learned that when you walk around holding grudges, you're really dragging chains that get heavier every day. And the crazy part is, the person you're angry at, they're not carrying it, you are. They're out living their life, and you're stuck with the weight. I remember early in my career, I faced rejection after rejection. There were times when I felt like I was being overlooked. Times when I thought, why him and not me? That kind of thinking breeds resentment. You start to keep score. You start to think you're owed something. But life doesn't owe you. Nobody owes you. And when I realized that, when I stopped looking at what I thought people had taken from me and started looking at what I could build for myself, that's when everything changed. See, anger will blind you. It will close your eyes to the opportunities that are standing right in front of you. I learned to flip the script. Instead of asking, why me? I started asking, what can I learn from this? How can this make me stronger? Every setback, every insult, every moment when someone doubted me became fuel. Not fuel for revenge, but fuel for growth. Because the best revenge is not anger, it's elevation. It's showing the world that nothing and no one can stop what God has placed inside of you. I'll tell you something personal. There were roles I didn't get, jobs I thought I deserved, doors that were shut in my face. And at first, I was angry. I wanted to prove people wrong. But with time, I understood something deeper. Sometimes rejection is protection. Sometimes those closed doors are not an attack, they're a redirection. And if you let anger consume you, you miss the lesson. You miss the blessing. Growth is hidden inside those tough moments, but you can't see it if your eyes are clouded with rage. Holding grudges is like standing still. Growth is like moving forward. You cannot do both at the same time. You can't rise while holding on to the weight of resentment. You have to let go to lift off. And that's not weakness, that's strength. Anybody can hold a grudge. Anybody can stay mad, but it takes real strength, real discipline to rise above it and say, I won't let this define me. I'll use this to refine me. And let me tell you this, it doesn't mean you forget. It doesn't mean you pretend it never happened. What it means is you stop letting it control you. You stop replaying in your mind. You stop feeding it with your energy. Because what you feed grows, and what you starve dies. If you keep feeding anger, it grows bigger. But if you starve it and instead feed your purpose, your peace, your growth, that's what flourishes. You don't grow by staying comfortable, and you don't grow by staying angry. You grow by turning pain into power, by looking at every challenge as a classroom, by saying, this is not the end of me, this is the shaping of me. That's how you transform. That's how you elevate. So I made a decision a long time ago. I'm not carrying anger. I'm not carrying grudges. I'm carrying lessons. I'm carrying wisdom. I'm carrying faith. Because life is too short and destiny is too important to waste on bitterness. Every time someone tried to break me, they didn't know they were actually building me. They didn't know they were adding another brick to the foundation of the man I was becoming. So when life hits you, when people hurt you, when someone disrespects you, don't get stuck in anger. Don't get trapped in bitterness. Use it. Let it stretch you. Let it push you. Let it grow you. Because in the end, you don't get remembered for how many grudges you kept. You get remembered for how many times you rose, how many times you grew, and how many times you chose peace over anger, purpose over pain, growth over grudges. You know, one of the most powerful lessons I've learned in my life is that silence will protect you in ways that words never can. When I was younger, I thought strength was proven by fighting back, by answering every insult, every jab, every negative word. I thought if someone disrespected me, I had to set them straight, had to let them know I wasn't the one to play with. But as time went on, as I grew, I began to see that the people who really have control, the people who really walk in strength, are not the ones shouting the loudest. They are the ones who don't need to shout at all. I've been in situations where people tried to provoke me, where they wanted a reaction, and that's the key. You have to understand that sometimes that's all they want. They want to pull you out of your character. They want to see you stumble. They want to drag you down to their level. And if you give in to that, if you let their words or their actions get under your skin, you've already lost, because now they control you. The moment you react in anger, you've put the steering wheel of your life in their hands. I had to learn that lesson the hard way, because I didn't always walk away. But I came to realize that silence is not weakness. Silence is mastery. Silence is a decision to rise above. There's a saying that stuck with me. Don't wrestle with pigs, because you both get dirty, and the pig likes it. That's what reacting in anger is like. You can argue all day with somebody who doesn't care about truth, who doesn't care about peace, who just wants to see you rattled, and you'll walk away frustrated, drained, and dirty. But when you choose silence, when you choose not to respond, you walk away clean, calm, and in control. That's real power. There were moments in my career, especially early on, when critics had something to say about me. People judged me, doubted me, and sometimes straight up disrespected me. And I wanted to respond. I wanted to defend myself. But I learned something I didn't need to, because my work would speak louder than any argument. My discipline, my consistency, my faith, those things shouted louder than any words I could have thrown back. That's why I tell people all the time, let your success be your response. Let your peace be your answer. Silence doesn't mean you don't notice what's happening. It means you're wise enough to know that some things aren't worth your energy. And don't get me wrong, silence isn't easy. It takes discipline. It takes humility. Because your ego wants to defend itself. Your pride wants to clap back. That's the test. Are you strong enough to keep your mouth shut when every part of you wants to speak? Are you disciplined enough to stay calm when someone is trying their hardest to get you angry? That's where character is built. That's where growth happens. And the beautiful thing is, when you start practicing it, you realize you don't need to fight every battle. You don't need to win every argument. In fact, most of the time, the argument isn't even worth winning. I look back now, and I'm grateful for the moments I chose silence. Because in silence, I found clarity. In silence, I protected my peace. In silence, I stayed aligned with my purpose. And the truth is, life is too short to waste on anger. Every second you spend being upset at someone else is a second you could have invested in your dreams, in your family, in your growth. And when you realize how valuable your time is, you stop giving it away so cheaply. So the next time someone tries to push your buttons, the next time someone throws shade, or gossips, or disrespects you, don't give them the satisfaction of your reaction. Don't hand them the keys to your peace. Just smile, stay calm, and keep moving forward. Let your silence speak for you. Because at the end of the day, silence is louder than anger. Silence is stronger than any reaction. And silence is proof that you are in control of yourself. And nobody else ever will be. You know, one of the greatest lessons I've ever learned in this life is that when you anchor yourself in purpose, nobody, and I mean nobody, can shake you. People will try. People will talk. They'll misunderstand you, misquote you, and sometimes even straight up lie about you. That's life. But if your identity, your peace, your strength is built on what people say about you, then you'll be tossed around like a leaf in the wind. The truth is, people's opinions change with the weather. One day, they love you. The next day, they don't. One day, you're their hero. The next, you're their villain. But your purpose, your calling, that doesn't change. That's what keeps you grounded when everything else around you is storming. I remember when I was starting out as a young actor, there were people who told me straight to my face, "You'll never make it." They said I didn't have the right look. I didn't have the right voice. I didn't have the right presence. Some of them laughed. Some of them wrote me off before I even got started. Now, if I had anchored my identity to their words, if I had let their doubt sink into my heart, I wouldn't be standing here today. I'd be just another dreamer who gave up. But I learned to tune them out. I learned to silence the noise and remind myself, oh, why am I here? What's my purpose? What's the bigger picture? See, when you know your purpose, you stop being a prisoner of people's opinions. You stop being bothered by their negativity because you realize it's not about them. It's not even about you. It's about the mission you were put here to fulfill. I've always believed that God doesn't put a dream in your heart just to tease you. If He gave it to you, He gave it to you for a reason. And when you anchor yourself to that, you can walk through fire and still keep your head high. You can face rejection. You can face hate. You can face misunderstanding. And none of it can break you. Because you're not standing on shifting sand. You're standing on purpose. I'll tell you something else. The higher you go, the louder the noise gets. The more successful you become, the more opinions you'll attract. It's part of the journey. And if you're not rooted in purpose, if you're chasing applause, you'll end up exhausted. You'll be drained. Because no matter what you do, you'll never please everybody. Somebody will always have something to say. You could be the kindest, most generous person in the room, and still, there will be people waiting to criticize you. That's why you got to anchor yourself. Otherwise, You'll live your whole life trying to win the approval of people who don't even know who they are themselves. For me, it's about waking up every day and asking myself, am I walking in my calling? Am I using the gifts I've been given to serve, to inspire, to uplift? If the answer is yes, then nothing else matters. Not the headlines, not the critics, not the gossip. Because at the end of the day, they don't define me. My purpose defines me. I've had moments where I had to remind myself of this in the hardest way. Times when people came against me, times when things didn't go my way, times when I felt misunderstood. And I'll be honest, anger comes easy in those moments. It's easy to want to fight back, to clap back, to prove people wrong. But then I stop myself and I remember, Denzel, you weren't put here to fight every battle. You weren't put here to argue with everybody. You were put here to fulfill your purpose. And when I shift my focus back to that, the anger fades. The noise disappears. All that's left is clarity. So when you ask me how to never feel angry or bothered by anyone, I'll tell you this: stop focusing on them and start focusing on why you're here. Know who you are. Know whose you are. Stand on that. Because when you live anchored in your purpose, people can come against you, but they can't move you. They can throw stones, but they can't sink you. They can talk, but they can't touch the fire inside of you. Purpose is stronger than anger. Purpose is stronger than opinion. Purpose is the anchor that keeps you steady when the waves try to pull you under. And once you've found it, you'll realize peace isn't something the world gives you. It's something that comes from knowing you're right where you're supposed to be, doing exactly what you were called to do. That's how you live free. That's how you rise above. That's how you never let anyone bother you again.